In this lesson, you'll learn about construction drawing and how, once it is mastered, can be used to draw anything. Construction drawing is taking very simple forms like the sphere, cone, box, and cylinder that are easy to draw and using them as building blocks to create more complex forms. For example, two spheres can become a dragon's head. Two boxes can become a car. A curved cylinder or tube can become a mermaid. Through construction drawing, you will learn to take everyday objects and simplify them into their most basic shapes. You will learn to draw those shapes in various perspectives and combine them to create virtually anything. Let's give it a try. For this drawing demo, we're going to start by drawing a very simple object, a toaster. The first step is to see what basic shape we can reduce the toaster to. I see it as a simple box. So we'll begin the drawing by laying down a simple box. Let's draw a real simple object together, a toaster. Now normally in observational drawing, I would carefully observe the angle here to make sure that my drawing is in the same perspective as the reference, and I would observe carefully this angle here to make sure again that my drawing was in the same perspective that I see with the reference. With construction drawing, it doesn't really matter if we get that angle correctly or not. We could draw things from a little bit different perspective than what we see the image as. So I'm going to make this a little bit sharper than what I see and maybe tilt this one up a little bit. So I'm going to start out just by making a box. And I'm going to try and make about the same proportions, the width and the depth, that I see in my reference. I'm drawing through so that the box appears like it's transparent. Now the next thing that I notice in my reference is we have these curved edges. So on my drawing, I'm going to round those edges a little bit. So there's a rounded edge on the front and a rounded edge on the back. I'm going to draw a light little line here to show me exactly where to round that in perspective. Another one here shows me that needs to start being rounded right there. In the middle of this side, there's a little slot. So I'm going to draw that. And I'm going to give it a little thickness. And let's go ahead and fill it in with a little dark tone. There's a little handle pointing out from here that's a cylinder. So there's a shorter cylinder and then a longer cylinder. We can go ahead and fill that in with tone. And there's a little reflection from the cylinder too. Down here there's another cylinder that sticks out. So these lines have to be parallel with these lines because they're all going in the same direction in perspective. So I want to make sure that they're all going the same direction. Then there's a little black edge in the bottom here, and it kind of bends out on the side too. So we can go ahead and draw that bending out. We'll draw the little black edge. And there's a little divot here. And we'll make our black edge. Kind of goes into that divot and then back out. Into the divot and back out. There's our slots for the toast at the top. So let's firm up this line. We need to create this edge. And then make our slots. So let's find the center of this shape. And then we'll put slots on either side of it. And again, I want these slots to be in this same perspective as the top of the box here. And these sides should be in the same perspective here. We have the little label here. So now we can clean this up. Maybe add some shadows. That's going to make it look more solid. And we can erase some of these construction lines. When we start to shade, we want to think about how that box that we drew in the beginning would look with light coming from a particular direction. What are the big ideas we need to capture with our shading? A box with a light source coming from the top right will have the front plane the darkest. The side plane will be a little bit lighter, and the top plane is going to be the lightest. So we want to give our drawing the feeling of having those three planes and convey those big ideas first before we jump into too many details. Once we've established those three planes, we can refine as much as we want by adding little shadows, highlights, and reflected lights. Now that we have drawn a toaster from reference, because we did a construction drawing, we can now play with the idea of a toaster. You can draw one from memory from any angle by just changing the perspective of the box. You can use your imagination to change it around, add things, or do whatever you want to it. To sum up, in construction drawing, the artist uses basic geometric forms like boxes, spheres, and cylinders to construct objects in 3D space. Once you learn how to do this, put additional forms on top of those forms, and add proper shading, you can create anything from your imagination. Thanks for watching.